Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all across global location. I am Cheryl DeCosta from WNS Cares Foundation team. It's a pleasure to have you all for the virtual session on respect. We have our location leaders, students, principal, teachers from South Africa and India who have joined us on this video conference. A huge round of applause to all present today. The key objective of this initiative is to understand different perspectives on respect from children representing two different geographies. So let me start the session by introducing Sudeshna Chatterjee, Director Principal of Euroschool Airoli, a B.Ed Gold Medalist from the University of Mumbai. Sudeshna ma'am has been leading various educational institutions in her career spanning 26 years. So, without any further ado, I would like to invite Sudeshna Chatterjee to share the welcome address with all.
Thank you, dear Karen. Good evening and a warm welcome to all our dear panelists and viewers from across the world, from all of us at Euroschool. The webinar on the theme of respect is not just an international effort. It is an intercontinental effort across Asia, Africa, and Europe. And I thank all the powers that be for making this great event possible. We're honored to be a part of this dialogue on respect initiated by WNS Cares Foundation. We sincerely thank Professor Novak for being our esteemed guest speaker. No doubt, your words will be a beacon of light for all of us to lead with respect, everything and everyone. I also look forward to listening to the views of Ms. Shamini Murugesh and Mr. Dupree, and most importantly, our young student panelists on the profound theme of respect. On this occasion, I pay my respect to Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, proponents of respect for all. We do hope that our students become enlightened leaders of the future and bring about an equitable world for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudeshna ma'am, for the warm welcome address. I would now like to invite our honorary chief mentor and guide, WCF Shamini Murgesh, to share her views on theme respect.
Hello, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. And thank you all for joining this unique dialogue on respect between the children of South Africa and India. A very warm welcome to Professor Novak, Mrs. Sudeshna Chatterjee, and Peter Dupre. Thank you for your time today. Let me start by giving you the background to how we started doing this. At WNS Cares Foundation, which we call WCF, we have a Global Impact Day every year where we choose a particular theme which resonates well with all the children in the 12 countries that we work in. And in the past, we've had themes like cybersecurity, healthy lifestyle. And this year, when we were discussing themes in January, the one that popped up was respect. And as we spoke to a lot of people, it just resonated so well with everyone. And as the year progressed, there were certain unfortunate incidents which actually highlighted and brought to light the fact of the need and necessity for one to focus on respect. And as we spoke about this, we just thought it would be a great idea to have perspectives from two different continents, and how better to come up with this than have our WCF children from South Africa. And we thought of some other school in Mumbai. And that's when I spoke with Ms. Chatterjee, who came forward and said, yes, we would love to be a part of this venture. So this is where we are at this point of time. And as we all know, we work with students. They give us such fresh perspectives on any and every topic that we come up with. And in my mind, today's dialogue is going to be something like a beautiful tapestry where you have different threads, big, small, and they just come together amalgamated to make this beautiful tapestry, which is going to be our dialogue today. And I'm going to be really delighted to get a chance to listen to all the young students today who are going to share their perspectives, unique experiences, their exchange of ideas that they've had over the past month. But before we listen to them, let me share with you my idea of respect. To me, respect is acceptance, acceptance of every human being for what he or she is. It doesn't matter where they come from, what their ideas are, what their perspectives are. In fact, it is acceptance of different points of view as well, agreeing to disagree in a sense. And respect is not just about others, it's also about oneself. Respect cannot be enforced by law, it has to be a behavioral attitude in the way we treat others. There are a few simple rules that I'd like to share with you, which I tend to follow with respect to respect. So, the first is listening. It's very important to listen to another person, not just hear, but listen to what they say because it validates them as a person, as a human being. The other thing is to encourage, always have positive words for people because it creates a happiness bubble for each and every person for whom you have a positive thought. The other aspect that I feel that, I tend to follow is give back to others. Every life matters. And if you are able to use your abilities and your talent to make someone's life better, you are respecting them. Also, keep an open mind. Extremely important. When you keep the doors of your mind open, you get a lot of positives, you may get a few negatives, but if you keep the door closed, you don't get the positives or the negatives. Very, very important to try to avoid preconceived notions. And when you keep your mind open, you also learn to filter out what is good and what is bad. Another very, very important thing I try to do always is step out of my comfort zone because that really tests you, gives you diverse views and a lot of varied opinions so that you are able to actually assimilate these different things and come up with new thoughts. And last but not the least is always say please and thank you. I'm sure this is something we've all been taught like forever. It's not just a courtesy because these simple words actually say, I appreciate you, and I respect what you are doing. These are some of the things that I follow. And I'm sure today's discussion is going to inspire all of us to think deeper about the topic on respect and how to spread respect. Before I end, I'd like to thank once again Mrs. Chatterjee, Professor Novak, and Euroschool for being a part of this wonderful venture. I know there was a lot of effort that went into this for the past couple of months. Thank you, everyone. Cheryl, we could have
Thank you.
the.
Hi, IT team. Can we have the video, please?
I think respect is about treating people the way you want to be treated. So if you treat someone by being nice or kind or loving, then they're gonna be nice and kind in return.
Respect my parents. I listen to them and I am polite mostly, but do I respect them for who they are and what they do? Or do I just respect them because they're my parents and I'm supposed to? Do we respect our teachers? We obey, but do we respect? Isn't it easy easy to laugh at the teachers when they make mistakes, but what about when they correct us?
Means being kind, being polite, and being obedient to that person in all things, and mostly understanding that person, no matter what difference they might have, or color they might be, or religion they might praise. We still have to respect them in order to be seen as a good person.
Respect your life how it is. Don't allow your predictions interfere. Help people with their rights so they can foresight. Respect their religion, black or white, so they can choose the way which is right.
What respect means to me is about being good to one another and treating each other equally with kindness and being polite to one another. Respect to me is about showing people how good you are to them and how they treat you and how you treat them. Respect is about respecting one another's cultures and not judging them because they're different from you, their skin color is different from yours. Respect is about showing them your gratitude and how kind you are to them and how kind they are to you.
And I also think that you need to have respect for animals because they were here before us. So we're not supposed to be the rulers they are. But that's not about that. It's just about being kind and honest.
I am extremely happy to be a part of this as this platform encouraged us to discuss various topics about respect, which is the need of the hour. The stories which were told were also a great way to introspect and understand how respect is important in different ways. Overall, a very good experience.
This indeed was a wonderful journey to see how students collaborate with diversity. I would also like to mention that the entire video was beautifully compiled by a young talent. So, moving on, I would now like to introduce our eminent speaker, Professor Manfred Novak, Secretary General Global Campus of Human Rights from Austria. Professor Novak comes with over 2 decades of experience and is an internationally renowned expert and a former judge in the field of human rights. He has carried out various independent expert functions for the United Nations, the Council of Europe, the European Nation, multiple NGOs, and the corporate sector. Please welcome Dr. Novak, who will share his views on respect.
Thank you very much for having invited me to this very, very interesting dialogue on respect. And as you know, respect is very much related to human rights. Respect is a very positive feeling that we bring towards others. It has to do, as already Shamini said in her opening words, a lot with admiration, politeness, honoring others, caring for others, appreciation, tolerance, acceptance, open-mindedness. Often the word respect is used as a kind of a duty. You should respect your parents, your teachers, authorities, religious or political authorities. And that is very important. But at the same time, you should not only be respected because you are a teacher, you should be respected because you are a good teacher. So you have to earn the respect of your students in every class. And most important for respect is the respect for those who are different from us, in particular those who are discriminated against, marginalized groups, the poor, the vulnerable. And we should treat them with the same respect that we owe to our parents, teachers, authorities. We should not look up to others, but we also should not look down to others. Respect means also respecting ourselves and treating others with the same care, esteem, from eye to eye on the same level, because we are human beings and we have human dignity. But I would also like to say that respect goes beyond human beings. We should also treat animals. We should treat other creatures, trees, flowers, fruits, the environment, nature, Mother Earth. We should also respect the environment and others in the same way. Respect is the base for human rights and peace. And the United Nations were created in reaction to world wars, the rise of fascism, hatred, and the worst crime that was ever committed in history, the Nazi Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews, men, women, children, were simply killed only because they have been Jews. And in reaction, the allies at that time, in particular the United States, the United Kingdom, wished to establish a totally new world order based on 3 main pillars. And the one is peace and security, no more wars. The first prohibition of war in international law. That means also that people should have the right to live in freedom from fear and violence. The second is development, economic, social development, so that people can enjoy a life in freedom from want and freedom from poverty. And the third pillar is human rights, respecting the dignity of human beings. And we have many rights where you see how much important respect is. The right to life. States, but also we individuals, should not kill others. There should be no wars. The right to personal integrity. It's no violence. It's very important against others. No torture, no cruel treatment. And it, of course, also applies to animals. We should not ill-treat animals. The right to personal liberty. That means no arbitrary detention, no slavery, no servitude. The right to privacy is very important. We all have a certain aura among ourselves, our autonomy, our identity, including our gender and sexual identity, color, cultural identity, our intimacy, all that needs to be respected by everybody else. Very important are our freedoms, freedom of conscience, religion, belief, expression, etc. So we should respect the different opinions, beliefs, religious beliefs, ideologies of others, but at the same time, we have a responsibility in exercising these freedoms, in particular, freedom of the media. We should also be respectful to others. No hate speech, no incitement to racial, religious, political, and other forms of violence. And the last example I want to give is the right to equality and non-discrimination. We should respect the rich diversity of individuals, of peoples, and of cultures. And let me finish this short introduction by an experience that we had in the headquarters of the Global Campus of Human Rights in Venice. This is a network of about 100 universities, and we are educating students. They are having all kind of other training activities, and we have different lecture halls. And then we decided that we want to give them names of the champions of human rights and peace from all different regions of the world. So for instance, Eleanor Roosevelt Room is honoring Eleanor Roosevelt, the widow of President Roosevelt, but primarily because she was the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations when they were drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is still the most important human rights document. It was adopted in 1948. And then we thought about who are the main human rights champions in Asia and in Africa. And we decided on two individuals coming from the two countries that are here represented today. Mahatma Gandhi, we have an own Mahatma Gandhi room as a champion of non-violence, anti-colonialism, for respecting religious diversity, and both in India, but he was also fighting racial discrimination in South Africa. And the second is Nelson Mandela, the champion of anti-apartheid struggle, anti-racism, who managed to achieve a peaceful transition from the white minority apartheid regime to black majority rule in South Africa. Last year, we had a conference in Pretoria, and I used it to visit the South African Constitutional Court in a building in Johannesburg. And this is very symbolic because this Constitutional Court, which is an amazing court that has really brought so much progress to human rights, similar to the Supreme Court of India, I should say. And it's in a building that was a notorious prison for political prisoners for many, many years. And in this prison, both Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela were actually suffering. So that brings the two again together. Thank you very much for listening. These are simply a few ideas, but I would be happy if we have a lively discussion on whatever you are interested in relation to respect on the one hand and human rights on the other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Novak. That was beautifully explained, and this was indeed an engaging perspective on respect from your end. Thank you so much. So we move on to the part where we have our students from Euroschool Mumbai, India, and WCF students from Bridgetown School, Trafalgar School, Cape Town, South Africa, speak about the theme respect. I would now like to invite Torsha Ghosh, Euroschool, India, and she will share her testimonial on theme respect.
Hello everyone, my name is Tosha. I'm a student of Euroschool Airoli, India, and this is my testimonial on respect. Respect. Respecting is fundamentally the ability to accept, whether that is accepting diversity, accepting differences, accepting disagreements, or accepting yourself. Most of us at some point in time have compensated our intrinsic motive, which is the internal drive to perform an activity, to focus on extrinsic motives, which is the external drive to perform an activity. Or our extrinsic motives have dominated to such a level that it affects our intrinsic motives directly. This has obliged us to tie our self worth with our accomplishments and possessions. And if we fail to achieve that never ending list of goals, we tend to lose self worth. However, it is time that we learn to base our worth on the fact that we are humans and cultivate a sense of respect for ourselves that persists even when life doesn't go our way. While it is important to accept ourselves as individuals, it's also important to accept others as individuals and not as labels. This highlights the importance of cultural sensitivity. The first step towards cultural sensitivity is understanding our own biases. Over time, we have developed these assumptions about people and categorized them of being stereotypes we have assigned them. Whether true or not, these assumptions, as a consequence, influence how we communicate with people. Secondly, it must be recognized that people with different backgrounds have different means as to which they show respect. For example, if the person you're talking to lowers their eye contact while you're talking, it doesn't necessarily mean they aren't listening or paying attention. It is very common for it to be misinterpreted as being rude. But in many cultures, it's considered polite to do so. Being culturally sensitive is understanding that people have differences and communicate effectively to know those differences in order to accept them and foster a positive and inclusive environment. It is essential that we acknowledge that diversity must be accepted, not assumed, And instead of following the golden rule of treating people the way we want to be treated, let's follow the platinum rule of treating people the way they want to be treated. Also, it is often said that we should cover our eyes and treat everyone the same, and that is being respectful. Well, I believe we cannot be blind to the differences around us. We shouldn't cover or close our eyes, but keep them wide open to see our differences, what sets us apart, our gender, the color of our skin, the race, our culture, and still be respectful. Still acknowledge everyone around us to be equal and treat them with dignity. That would be truly accepting ourselves and the people around us and respecting everyone for their singular attributes. In the words of RJ Riss, respect is a two-way street. If you want to get it, you've got to give it to yourself and others. On that note, I'll take my leave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Torsha. That was indeed wonderful perspective on respect from your end. Now, I would like to invite Paul Fallu from South Africa, and he will talk on this topic, which talks about differences, including culture. Paul, can you please unmute yourself?
Greetings, I'm Paul Falu. I'll be talking about cultural diversity. First things first, we all are different in this world and we all have to respect one another. We all come from different backgrounds and we all come from um, we come from struggles that are different to one another. We have people who are out there who are still struggling to be recognized as a unique person who is different to other people, who wants to be respected and wants to be to be someone who wants to be one of to be included in this world and be as a citizen of this world, as a human being on this world. We all are different and we have to respect each other. We have to respect each other's religion and faith. We have to respect each other's identities. We have to respect each other's um, colors and religion and all those things. As for a person, I am so grateful to be able to respect and someone's cultural differences, to be able to greet someone with respect and try to create a conversation with someone so that I can get a better understanding, um, um, a better understanding of someone's differences and and feelings and emotions and all those things. I I come from I come from a very diverse country, so um, I get the opportunity to meet a lot of different people with different experiences, and with a lot of different people who who are very different to me and do things that are very different the way I do things. So I get to learn about these people's cultural differences included, and I have and I love it. I really love it, and I get to understand someone's um, differences, and I I I I I I appreciate the opportunity that I get every day to meet someone that is very different to me, who tells stories that are very different to us, who says who have to have that feeling to get to know someone better and to know that you're not alone in this world and that we need people who who are different to us so that we can respect it we respect each other and know each other better, because we really do need people who respect each other and want to get to know other people and on this world to and what's this I I come from a very um different clan that is called the Xhosa clan. We when our contribution to society is very different, and I try understand myself and my culture, because I struggle to accept it, because I was told that I'm a Christian. I was told that I have to pray every time I get to eat. I have to pray every time I leave the house. I have to pray every time I sleep. So now I have this part of me that contributes cultural different culture, and I was told that we have to do different things. Now it's like those I'm trying to balance two things that are very different to each other, because on the one hand I have to contribute myself to Christianity, and the other hand I have to contribute to myself to culture, which is closer cultures, and I try to understand I try to contribute in both ways, and respect both ways, and I have to handle these two different headings, and I have to respect all these people who are different to each other. And I'm told on the one hand that mustn't do the things on the one hand, and I'm told on the one hand that I mustn't do things on the other hand, and I struggle to understand that I have to live in this world that is different to each other, and I struggle to understand that there is very low contribution to people, and to respect that respect each other, and I for one, I want to enlighten this world that even if you're different, even if you do different things like me, you still have to respect each other. We still have to be polite. You still have to be kind and loving, because without those things, I really don't know where we could be. I really don't know where we could stand in this world. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. So, one of the most beautiful things about humanity is that we all are different and unique in our own special way. So, thank you so much for highlighting that aspect to us. So, our next student speaker would be Yoshka Glenn from South Africa.
Hi everyone, I'm Yoshka, and I'll be speaking of respecting each other as individuals. First of all, respect means that you have to accept somebody for who they are, even if they are very different from you. Respect is accepting somebody for who they are, even if you don't agree with him. And it is very important to respect somebody, because no matter the differences, because you have to be kind. Like, my brother turned Muslim when he married his wife, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like it, because to me he was always my Christian brother, and I didn't like the fact that he had to change. But as time went on and as I got older, I started asking questions about his religion, and he explained stuff to me, and I started to understand, and I got used to it, and now actually I like it a lot. I like it a lot. And so what I actually found out is that instead of questioning or doubting somebody's cultures or beliefs, rather ask questions and try and make a better understanding of it. Like, for example, in my group of friends at school, we are all different. We all have different body types, different cultures, different beliefs, and we all have fun with that fact, because we're all different and it's fun to learn something new every day. So we take that fact and we try new things with each other, and it turns out very exciting, because you get to know new stuff, you get to learn new stuff, and it makes you feel safer with that fact. And we all have to stop waiting for everybody to start showing respect in this world, because everybody's solely focused on themselves, and it's not gonna really help. And we have to start by stepping up and making an example and being the better person. So we have to start first by acting up and showing respect to people. And so if you want to be treated, so treat people the way you would want to be treated, because it's not it's not fun not being respected, and it's not fun being disrespected and all that. So you have to be kind and loving and honest to people who are different from you, because you never know when you might need them, or you never know what you might discover. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Yoshka, for reminding us to always be kind, polite, and respectful to people who are different from us. Thank you so much. We move on to our next student speaker, that's Shresh Prasad from India. He's our next speaker. He will talk about respecting diversity.
Hello everyone, my name is Shresh, and I would like to start off with a quote. A diverse mix of voices leads to better discussions, better decisions, and better outcomes for everyone. Gandharva Chai. Beauty of the world lies in the diversity of its people, and it is the art of thinking independently that makes it much more better. In short, unity and diversity, and its oneness and variety, makes every single person special. India and Africa is the best example of proving this concept for many years. Over 1,650 languages and dialects are spoken here in India, and people of different religion, different cultures, ethnicities, and traditions live here and practice different religions by their own choice in this secular country. In spite of being related to different cultures and religions and separated by by the barriers of languages, people here respect each other and live here with a feeling of love and brotherhood. Unity and diversity is a big characteristic of our country for many years, which binds people of different religions in one bond of humanity. And as perfectly put by a wise man, united we stand, divided we fall. To be united, we must respect this diversity of each other. Something I personally experienced at an airport abroad, where a lady started accusing and abusing a person who was mostly native to India that he was intending to steal her belongings just because he was sitting near to her. This person was well dressed and definitely looked affluent and clearly had no such intentions while waiting for his respective flight. This act was unwarranted and not called for. And as a child, I was surprised to the core because I did not believe that something like this even existed. Why should we hurt others if they are the same? Cultural differences should not lead to our separation, and its diversity is a collective strength that can be used to benefit all humanity. Well, studies suggest that in homogeneous groups, we tend to find our comfort and we agree with each other. But in diversity, we want our voices to be heard. So we work really hard, and when it comes to implementing new ideas, we tend to think out of the box, and with exchange of ideas from different backgrounds, we become much more creative. We also want our work to be unique, so we find reactive ways of accomplishing it. We become more successful, and many companies applies these principles and employ people from diverse backgrounds, because this gives them a better perspective, and it also gives them the power of number. Diversity brings the best version of yourself, not only to your roots, but also for you to start embracing them and bring out the best of your skill to the table. It's like an Olympics match. Every person wants to be present with the best version of their country. Moreover, as minor, diversity is less fun. As a minor, diversity is much more fun. You get to try different cuisines, celebrate different festivals, get to know different kinds of customs, and it opens new channels for collaboration in such as arts, science, research, technology, and almost any and every field. Some of the organizations, like Red Cross, have been possible because of these diverse collaborations. Deep down, we are all unified by the same core values. We express differently, we show and process them differently, but we do believe in these same values. In diversity, we tend to pause for a second before we say or do anything because we do not want to hurt the other person's feelings. And growing up with that kind of behavior will make our societies much more relevant and tolerant. When we understand and accept diversity, a certain kind of ignorance is gone. The misunderstanding and misconception that hustlers are vanished and giving us a certain kind of strength and internal peace. When you spread that thoughts outside collectively, We make the society much more stronger and peaceful. After all, we're only human.
Thank you so much, Shreyas. So at WNS Cares Foundation, we recognize three pillars that make our society stronger by educating, empowering, and enriching the children and youth. So I would like to thank each and every child for their words of wisdom in segment one. So now we move on to our next session that we would like to invite our guest speaker, Mr. Peter Dupreez, who has been a part of WNS for the last 8 years and is currently leading a huge team as the managing director of a South Africa location. I would like to have Peter on screen, please.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be a part of this initiative. Um, I'm I'm really impressed by everyone's views so far, and I'm thinking about how different we all are. Faced with the same word, respect, and how we bring that to life. So it's 9 years actually. I've they deleted a year of my service on LinkedIn. And I'm not sure how many of you are already interested in business. But yes, we have a big team as part of the WNS family. We're almost 4,000 people in 7 sites. And what we're talking about today is not a business initiative, but later on in our lives, we will all be doing something productive. And the topic today is really, really relevant to that. Um, we've got about 80% of our people are what I know the millennials hate the term millennial, but I just call them young people. And I've been around young people in business for a very long time. And I've seen such, growth as the world change. But the one thing I do want to highlight is that the world is a very divided place at the moment. And we see it every day, and it's almost as if it's getting worse. So we all, and especially you, our young people across the world, have such a big responsibility in changing mindsets, and that starts with us. It starts with ourselves. Which brings me to our theme, respect. And as Shresh also mentioned earlier, you can't touch on respect without touching on diversity. In South Africa, and Paul mentioned a couple of things, and Yosha as well. Um, you know, we've been called the Rainbow Nation for a reason. We've got one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. And yes, we've got massive problems, and we've got our fair share of history and pain to get through. But it's that diversity and ultimately respect that that got this entire country to a different story. And I think that's really important to recognize. Just on that, and I think one of you also mentioned around languages. We always talk about the differences, but language is an interesting one. So, don't quote me exactly, but something like 30% of the world's population speak either one of these five languages: native Chinese, Spanish, English, Hindi, or Arabic. That's 30% of the population. The other 70% speak 6,500 languages. And it's so easy to fall into the trap that your language is the one in which you think. And it's just something to remember. So two quick stories. One a story, one an idea, actually, just to bring some of this maybe closer to home for you guys. My very first job, straight out of after I studied at university, I got pulled into a project where the CEO of the company was actually, reviewing this on a weekly basis. Now he's like 9 levels above me at this point in time, and I thought my job in this meeting was to just keep quiet. So I go to the first review meeting in my second week on the job, and towards the end of this meeting, the CEO asks my opinion, and I was shocked. I was completely shocked because, and afterwards I thought about it, and there was a lesson I took from this experience. The next time you're in a room, ask the quietest person what they think. And you can connect the dots and how this fits into respect. The CEO of a big company respected me enough, even though I was, very, very junior and didn't know much, to ask my opinion. And it made a mark on me for the rest of my life. and think where you can do the same to other people. And secondly, and lastly, just an idea. And this is around, we all know the term, walking in someone else's shoes. In a business sense, and you will face this in your life multiple times. Sitting across the table or being in a situation where you disagree. And in business, that's a fancy term. It's called negotiation, but in the end, it's two parties not seeing the same thing, wanting different things. And it's really important, and it's a great lesson. The earlier you learn it, the better. Is to think about yourself in the other person's shoes. That will make you understand diversity, and it will make you understand a different point of view. And that will lead to respecting that conversation. I almost guarantee it. So I hope to have more interactions, on this theme. I really think it's a powerful thing all of you are doing and that we are discussing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. It is always a pleasure to hear views on diversity. And on that note, I would like to share a few words of Dalai Lama. If we wish to ensure everyone's peace and happiness, we need to cultivate a healthy respect for the diversity of all peoples and cultures, founded on an understanding of the fundamental sameness of all human beings. This means all religions, cultures, and beliefs deserve the same amount of respect, even if they are different from our own. So, with that thought, we move ahead towards the second segment where we have student speakers speaking up their mind on theme respect. So, our first student speaker for this segment is Kushi Vedmeta from India, and she will talk about respecting self and body positivity.
Thank you. Hi, I am Krushi Mehta, and I am so grateful to be here and listen to you people discuss something like respect. So, when I talk about body positivity, I have to tell you, body positivity does not come easy to me, not at all. When I think of body positivity for myself, I try to imagine all the positive quotes on social media that talk about how important it is to love myself. But all I can think of is how I don't fit these superficial standards of beauty that have been set for everyone. We hold ourselves to these impossibly high standards, standards that are determined by some people who have that authority for some reason. It is impossible to blame one person, one brand, one social media post for body image issues. But what we can blame is this culture we've created. This culture that is normalizing people hating their bodies, and this culture that tells us that we're not good enough because we're not thin enough, or healthy enough, or pretty enough. By keeping quiet about everything that makes a person stare at themselves in the night and not being able to smile at themselves because they don't feel pretty enough, we are encouraging this culture. To bring change, we must change. When we look at ourselves, we shouldn't see how we fail to fulfill expectations. Whose expectations are we failing to fulfill anyway? When we look at ourselves, we should see the passion we have for the things we like. We should see how talented we are, how we are confused, but we're still trying. At the end of the day, that's who we are, and that's who everyone is. We cannot say we fail to fit in the system when the whole system is flawed. Respecting oneself and being positive about our bodies is not easy. I refuse to tell you that you're going to feel amazing about yourself all the time because you're not. You are going to have a hard time accepting yourself when you don't feel accepted by the world around you. But you should know that you deserve your own kindness. You deserve to be treated the way you treat your friends when they aren't feeling well. You deserve to be understood and heard. And you have to start surrounding yourself with people who not only see you for who you are, but also accept you and make you want to be a better person. You have to work towards being the kindest and the best version of yourself, the happiest, the best, the kindest, the most hopeful version of yourself. Accepting myself for who I am is not easy, and I am not there yet. But all I know is that you and I have to grow and learn in this process. And I take comfort in knowing that today I have been able to talk about something that matters so much to me: self respect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kushi. That was rightly said by you. We should not be looking at just the outer self, but inner self as well, which is equally important. And that gets evoked with the respect of one's own self. So, with that note, we move on to our next student speaker. That's Ikshan Sally from South Africa. He will talk about gender equality.
Adidari. Hi, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ikhshan Sali, and today I will be discussing gender equality. Gender equality is achieved when we have equal rights between men and women. Each person should be treated the same regardless of their gender, respecting one another, looking past each other's differences, being able to interact on a level where both males and females feel welcome and not judged. Parents should be a good role model when it comes to gender equality. Let your children play with what they like. It doesn't matter if they are male or female. If a male plays with dolls, let them, because playing develops the skills in children. Parents need to lead by example. Show your child that any gender can do household chores, for an example. Not only that females in the house should do cooking or mopping, and not only males should do the painting, etc. All human beings have feelings. Children should be encouraged to show any kind of emotion, regardless if they are boys. So do not tease your son if he's crying. Instead, encourage him and tell him, my son, it is okay to cry. Also, you should allow your children to watch movies where girls could be the superhero as well. Teach children to practice any type of sport. Children fail to learn certain skills because they think rugby is for boys and gymnastics is for girls. Gender equality, it means to look at a male and a female as a human being and not a certain gender. It means not to favor one more than the other, to treat both males and females equally and provide equal opportunities for all. Like my auntie always says, do unto others what you would like them to do unto you. That simply means if you want respect, you have to give respect. And respect is something that you earn. You have to treat people equally and then they will treat you equal. So I wrote something about respect that I would like to read. Respect. Respect is a term that could be quite broadly interpreted. Some classify it by age, experience, wealth, and status, while others is way more simple. To give some, you get some. To me and my household, respect is a major talking point which centers around respecting authorities such as my parents and my eldest brother. Knowing how to conduct myself in their presence appropriately. Knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And the same applies for my actions. My religion, Islam, emphasizes on the concept of respect too, especially with regards to it going both ways. The pious respecting who may be the pious respecting who may be regarded as less God-fearing and vice versa. We taught to respect an individual based on the individualism. It can fluctuate as a result of one's actions and words. So, who are you as an individual really determines how much respect you have for one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ikshan. I totally agree with you. Each person should be treated with respect and dignity they deserve. So, regardless of their gender, race, caste, or creed. Our next student speaker would be Kudisia Kasu from South Africa, and she would give her views what respect means to her.
Um, Hi, I'm Chrissy, and the topic I have is what respect means to me. Respect to me means communicating well with other people and knowing when to say things. Like a lot of the times we are stuck in a situation where you don't actually know how to answer someone because you don't know how they'll take it. But the question I ask myself a lot is how do you like to be answered in certain situations? Respect also means being polite to people, being kind and listening to someone when they're speaking, um, or standing up in a bus when an elderly person comes along. When someone sneezes, say bless you, even if you don't know the person. It's respectful to show common courtesy to people, where even if you don't know them. You can also show respect to someone by being kind when they're going through a bad time, or just being there, being to support them, even if they don't ask for it. All of the things I discussed right now was how to respect people surrounding you, but also the planet and animals. But the one thing I think that should prioritize to us to the utmost ability is respecting yourself. Although you may not be aware of this, in your everyday life, how you take care of yourself is how you choose to live and how you're choosing the quality of life that you deem important to yourself. Self respect is an indication of how you view yourself. There's a great deal of negativity in the world right now, and to be surrounded by can affect someone to the utmost. Like it can really just how it just affects people in a lot of negative ways. So respecting yourself in that sense, you can move past it, you can learn how to live with it, even if you can choose to be different than what surrounds yourself. Um, and it's really easy to lose self-respect and develop a negative way, negative view of yourself. So choose self-respect. Choose to respect yourself. Make the commitment to practice self-respect on a daily basis. Remember that emotions are just as important as everyone else's around you, and act on that information. Many people have been taught to require the approval of others, and when we do that, we're disrespecting ourselves by putting people's needs, wants, and desires above our own. Self respect is apparent through the things that you do to make yourself comfortable, content, and happy. Each of us has emotional needs, and as kind as it is to have people around you that are kind, that are there for you when you need them to be there, you can't depend on people or others to ensure that your emotional needs are met. So start your journey with self-respect. It may be difficult, but as soon as you go along, you'll see the positive aspects of change that you respecting yourself can have on your daily life. And the one thing I feel that is seen the wrong way is us as the generation Gen X. People say, oh no, we're too lax and we're not seeing the way the world is supposed to be. But I think we have the better understanding, no offense to the other generations, to what the world actually entitles. Because we are open to change, we are open to understanding, we open to learning about what's going on. Like if you look at what is happening right now, the talking between the Euro schools and like the children, we we actually want to know. We actually want to understand the differences going on between us and like people going like how do I say this? How people like experience things in different ways. We're open to it. So I think that we undermined a lot as a generation. But if you look at it, we have a better understanding and a better view of the way life should be lived. And with that, I'll leave you with a quote by C.D.C. Reeve. Honor, like insult, comes from others. It is a recognition of our worth. It is the intrusion of our social into the psychological, the public into the private. After all, others honor us for what they find of worth in us. To pursue honor, we must direct our lives according to what other people's powers of understanding, fleeing what commonly flee, and seeking what is commonly seek. So, what we come to think of us as worthwhile is bound to have as large a component to what others think is worthwhile in us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kudisia, for such a thought provoking speech. Our next student speaker would be Arav Prabjot, and he will talk about accepting differences, including culture.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be present here and speak today. My name is Aru Prajot, and I am here to speak about one of the most important topics in today's world, cultural diversity and how it affects us in our daily lives. Um, so, what is cultural diversity? Cultural diversity is about appreciating that society is made up of many different groups with different interests, skills, talents, and needs of people. It is also the ability of having respect for your culture and other people's culture. Sometimes people are not aware about cultural diversity, which then tends to make them lose respect for others' culture and practices. This affects their behavior and view towards other people. An example of this is, as Sir Manfred Novak said, the killing of Jews by Nazis. This incident occurred because of the difference in culture and religion. This incident is one of the most horrific incidents in whole of history. The cause, loss of respect due to difference in culture. We shall all remember that learning about other cultures helps us understand different perspectives within the world in which we live in. It helps dispel negative stereotypes and personal biases about different groups. In addition, cultural diversity helps us recognize and respect ways of being that are not necessarily our own. Personally, I really try to respect other cultures, which then helps me in decision making. It helps in creating a less biased environment in my surroundings and having more respect for other people with different cultures. Cultural diversity leads to better decisions because of different views, perspectives, ideas, proposals of employees, and individuals from different backgrounds, which can have very different views, right? Also, in my opinion, cultural diversity has evolved over the years. Respect for others has changed from generation to generation. People's thinking has evolved over the years, and many different things in the world have changed due to people's thinking. Cultural diversity can affect the workplace in numerous ways. Negative effects like miscommunication, creation of barriers, dysfunctional behaviors, and also conflicts between coworkers in the workplace. Sometimes managers or head of teams do not offer resources to people which have different cultures. People need to understand that the person without the resource could come out with a better outcome, which would result in a benefit, but then culture comes in the way and disrupts people's thinking. In the end, I would just like to say that it is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. We all have to learn to accept other people's differences and cultures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arav. I must acknowledge we should accept individual differences as they are and value each and every human being. And also, I would like to thank each and every student and our key speakers today for sharing your thoughts and perspective on respect. So, we would now like to move on to our question and answer session. I see a couple of questions pouring into our chat box. However, with the interest of time, I may only be able to take one question. And I would like to pose that question to Dr. Novak. So, Dr. Novak, this question is for you. When it comes to inclusion, how does one foster an environment where people with different background feel valued for their differences? Also, if you could give us one takeaway from the entire session today.
Thank you very much. I think inclusion is a very important principle in order to deal with diversity. And the classic examples would be migrants, foreigners in general, who are often not included and integrated, or persons with disabilities, or persons who are belonging to the LGBTI community, so lesbians, gay, transsexual, etc. But also class distinctions like the Dalits in India. So it is very important that we create an atmosphere where people who are usually discriminated against, who are marginalized, are giving the feeling that they are welcome. So for instance, inclusion in education. It's very important that persons with disabilities and migrant children are not educated in a different school, but they are all together. And sometimes that's not easy. You have to take additional efforts in order to include persons with physical or mental impairments, people who cannot see, but it is possible. We simply have to be aware that putting them in a separate school is excluding them, it is discriminating them. So the very idea of inclusion also means to remove barriers, physical barriers, so that persons who are in a wheelchair can actually have access to a theater, a cinema, a school, and any kind of public places. And the same is to remove our mental barriers, our prejudices, our stereotypes. We feel persons with mental impairments, they are different. We don't really know how to deal with them. Simply invite them. Give them the feeling you are welcome, you are equal. We are all diverse, but we are also all equal. So it is our mind. It's what we call a human rights culture, means to be a culture of inclusion. I think it was fascinating to listen to all of you, in particular to the students from both South Africa and India, what you feel, your own experiences about diversity, about living in, I mean, both India and South Africa are two countries with such a huge diversity in terms of color, in terms of religion, in terms of people's ethnic diversity, etc. And they are both countries that have overcome major forms of discrimination in order to create a better future. That doesn't mean that there are not many problems, both in India and in South Africa. There are huge economic inequalities. I think in order to create a more inclusive society, a society that is with a social cohesion, and democratic societies need that, the social contract. It is also very important to fight against huge economic disparities, income disparities, income inequalities, inequalities of wealth, etc. It's also an important aspect of dealing with diversity and establishing a better functioning democracy based on human rights, diversity, and also the rule of law. So it was for me a pleasure to listen to all of you, and I would love to have a similar exercise on a different topic than respect in the future. Again, thanks very much for also inviting me to this chat.
Thank you so much, Professor Novak. It's indeed a pleasure to have you as a panelist today. And thank you so much for sharing a holistic view on this topic. In fact, I believe that we can certainly give equal opportunity to all to make them feel valued. So, with that note, I may not be able to take, but I would love to take more questions. But with the interest of time, we may have to conclude this session today. So thank you very much, everyone. While we had an insightful session today on theme respect, now it's time to say a goodbye to all. I would like to call Ekta Arora, Euroschool teacher, to extend a warm thank you note to all.
Thank you, Cheryl. It is definitely my honor to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Euroschool Airoli and WCF team. Today, what we all have witnessed is the culmination of collaborative efforts of a 2 months beautiful journey. Thanking Shamini ma'am for the wonderful theme respect, and thanking Sudeshna ma'am for providing our students with such platform to understand global perspective. Thanks to Professor Manfred Novak and Peter Dupreez for sharing their thoughts with us. It means a lot for all of us, I would also like to acknowledge all the WNS leaders, teachers, students, volunteers, NGO partners joining us today. Special mention to our student speakers for sharing their views on respect. Thank you to SA team, South Africa team, and WCF and Euro team, ensuring smooth journey and execution of this program. I cannot end this program without acknowledging the teams who were involved from Euro and WCF marketing and IT team for their successful completion of the event. Thank you and have a blessed day ahead.